we're actually going to be walking you through on how you can be able to work with your background and your character in order for them to resonate very well. So we're going to go straight to Photoshop. So we are using Photoshop 2020, and if you don't know where to download your Photoshop for your 2020, I could possibly help you, and then you will see a link below our video. You go to the link and then you can click it. You will see somewhere that will take you to where you can download the Photoshop, or perhaps I might do a video that can actually help you to get to where you can actually download Photoshop, and not only 2020 but 2021. Okay, right there we have our Photoshop. So for those of you that are new in Photoshop, so this is our Photoshop, like a workspace. So we'll go to create new artboard. So we click on just create, and then it brings out size, and then by the right hand side you see where we have our preset details. So this is where you give the title, let's just say working with character and background. Okay, so now we have our width 1200, height 1200. So we leave it at pixels. So Photoshop deals with pixels, so we leave it at pixels. Then orientation, we just leave it at this orientation. Resolution, we leave it at 72. Color RGB. Okay, let me say a little thing about this. So we have RGB, we have grayscale, we have CMYK, we have lab color. Now basically, if you want to do designs you want to put on your Instagram page, social media page, you always leave your color mode at RGB. So RGB simply means R is for green, red, G is for green, and B is for blue. So this is basically for social media post. Then you want to print it out, you want to do designs you want to print out, you can go to CMYK. CMYK simply means cyan, magenta, key, yellow, and key. So C, opposite of C is red, magenta is green, Y is blue, and then this K is red. So basically that's what it is. So we leave it at RGB. So once we are done, we click and then go to white background, because transparent simply means the background is not going to be anything, but we want to work on the background, so we need to keep it at white. So leave every settings the way it is, and then we click on create. So now our background is here. So now, so we're going to bring in our source file, we're actually going to be using for this tutorial. So let's go to our background. Okay, so we already have this, so we bring in our background. So we have our background coming up right here. Now we notice that when you bring it out, it actually fits into the size of our artboard. So but what if it doesn't fit to the size of your artboard, or maybe when you brought it back, you brought it in, it was just like this. So what do you do? So to resize it, you click on Ctrl T, and then from Ctrl T you hold your Ctrl, and then you hold your Alt, and then from here, not your Alt, just from here you resize this way, then you come here, resize this way. It's very wrong to resize from here, so make sure you resize from the diagonals, the edges of the diagonal, and then you have your background. Now we are going to tweak this background, because if you watch very well, you see a little bit of a light effect here. So we can actually create something like this. You can actually create something like this. So what we do, we are going to take our artboard out. We're going to take this background out here, and let's see if we can be able to create something like this, because the reason why you do things like this is you want to add life to your background. You want to make your background lively, because if your background is not lively, then it's not actually going to resonate with whatever you're going to put on top of it. Actually, your background serves as the bedrock of your designs. if your background it's not showing it's not giving it, then whatever thing you're doing on top of it will not be appealing. So let's click on here is a rectangle tool, so we'll click on a rectangle tool and then be able to draw this background. Now we have this, but our color is white, so we click here to change the color. From color picker we pick this color. Now we have this shade of blue, this blue, but we haven't seen this effect on it. So how do we create this effect now? So we need to go down a bit of this, a bit, say okay, and then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add new layer. We click on new layer, and then we already add the new layer. You come to your brush tool, click on your brush tool. Now when you get your brush tool, I have to change back my brush tool to this. Okay, so this is our brush tool. So to increase it, you increase your brush tool with you will see a kind of a bracket, right bracket. You know, we have the left bracket, we have the right bracket. So you click on the right bracket to be able to increase the size of your brush. If you can't see it, you just go to your brush settings here, you see the size here, so you can increase it from here, so you see it's bigger, so you just reduce it. So that's it. So that's the way you can be able to increase the size of your brush. Now don't click on it, so we'll make sure that we pick we'll go to our color settings here, we'll click on this, our color, then pick this same color here first. Now notice this part of blue is the dark part of it, so we want to go to the brighter side of it in order to get this effect we are seeing here. So I'm going to move my brush to the upper side, you see now. So before it was here, now I'm taking it to the brighter side of it, so I click on OK. So once I click on OK, I'll just come and dab it a bit. So once I dab a bit, you see we are having a resemblance of this same outshade here. So the reason why we did this is just to give life to this background, to give a kind of, not to make the background look very plain and simple, but to bring it a bit to life. So that is why we did something like this. So once you've done something like this, you can now click OK. So we want to add a little effect on it again, so we click on our curve adjustment layer, click on the curve adjustment layer, make sure that you power clip it to only affect this brush. You click on here to just affect the brush, so we can just move it up a bit. So you see, if you're moving it up, you see, you bring it down, you see, so we'll move it up a bit. That's okay, that's cool. So we now have this, so we have our background this way. Now the next thing we're going to do is, so let's delete this one, we don't need this again, so we already have our background. So the next thing we're going to do now is we're going to bring in another background to it. So we click on, there are two ways to import files into your Photoshop. Either you go to here, either you go to place embedded here, or you just go to where you have the file. This is where I have the file. You can just carry the file this way and drag it to this place, or if you don't drag it that way, you just click on file, click on place embedded, go to check where you have the file you want to bring into your Photoshop, and now we want this, you just click this and then bring it in. Now we'll just bring this, so we'll have to resize it for it to fit in to our background. So we have this, now we have this. So if you check very well in designs, we have where we have the highlights, we have the highlights. So this is where we have the highlight of this background. This is where the highlight of the background is. Right now, the next thing we're going to do, since we already have the background selected, we click on here to change the yes. From here we click on this place, we have here luminosity. Now when you click it to luminosity, you see that the background now, it's actually we've aligned it to the blue background we had before. But you check very well, it's not really looking appealing very well because we have this kind of highlight here and it's not looking good on it. So we could decide to change. So okay, we want to change this to okay. So okay, so we just leave it and then we just down the opacity, right? We just down the opacity, right? So we are still seeing it a bit, so we can decide to reduce this, right? Okay, so in order for us to remove that, so we just come here, then click on our levels and then power clip it, and then we can be able to reduce levels. So you see it's actually going in. So where you have that highlight, I've actually reduced it from the levels. So from the levels here you can see before, see we reduced it. So this was the before and this is the after. So perfect. So we now have it down the drain. So the next thing again, we still have to bring in another of our source file again. So we'll get this, bring it here again, you still resize it. So you click on again, still go to your transparency, and then we change this one. Now we are changing it not to luminosity again, but we are actually changing it to yeah, linear bond. So you now see this ripples, this kind of ripples around this is the one we brought in. So when we placed it, so this is what we have here. So this is what we have in this place. So in this transparency here, you have the ability to change it so that you can be able to blend. You can either use multiply or you can use linear bond. So but I prefer this linear bond because it's still trying to show out some of the effects on that background, so it will give you a nice look on your background. So when you see something like this, yeah, the background is no more that plain, at least it has life in it. So let's just say we bring in a character into it. Let's use this as a character. Okay, so let's use this as a character, and then we want to remove the background from the character. So in our next class I will show you how I'm able to remove the background from my character. So but then we bring in our character and then be able to resize this. So you see that somehow the color of our character's cloak resonates with this color of the background. So this is how you can be able to tweak your background and then give it a look. Now some of these ripples we can still decide to work on it. Now another way you can actually create this same movement on these is so let's close our selected files, and then we just have a plain background. So let's just have a plain background. So we'll just have something like yellow in our background. So fine, so fantastic. So you see this is a yellow background now. So let's see if there's a way we can be able to tweak this background to give us a good look. So what do? We already have this created. So you go to filter, you go to liquify, click on liquify, you said yes, convert to smart object, click on it, and then it brings you to a separate background here. So you have already forward warp 2, so you leave it at forward warp 2, so you can increase your brush. I already told you use the bracket right to increase brush. So watch carefully what I'm going to be doing from here. Okay, so you see what I'm doing. here, 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 here. So when you're done, you click on OK. So once you click on OK, you can decide to resize it. Fantastic. So now if you watch very well, let's still resize it. Let's still resize it a bit. So we keep it at the center. Okay, okay. So we want it to, yeah. So fine. So you can decide to do something like this. Yes. So most times when we have this kind of work like this kind of a thing is when we actually want to play with our designs, want to play with the background. So you can decide to have something like this on your background. Okay, so yeah, so you can decide to have something like this on your background. So we can decide to turn on these ones. So this we can change the color. Okay, we can change the color to blue. Say okay. So now you will see something like this. So the next thing is you have to change this. You change the transparency to hue. So watch. So you're seeing this movement here. You're seeing it here. So this is another way you can be able to add. You see that we've created something like this and then we see brought it back to the background we already created, just to make the background more lively and then more effective to use. So I can now bring in my character here. So but as time goes on, you watch very well, you see that the character face is too bright and all those stuff. So in our next class we'll be able to show you how you can be able to walk through your character to blend with your background, because if your character is not blending with your background, then your design is not forthgiving. So thank you so much for today.